Sempre me separa para precisión e hecho relevante con os team y seguridad con un acuerdo verifica. Y está confiable, promete que nos lo publica. 2. Independencia. Periodista não mestre tá é voz independiente, não mestre actua, mestre tá formal, na nombre de interesse não especial, já seja político, corporativo ou cultural, mestre evitar conflito de interesse e assegurar transparência de afiliação. Número 3, honestidade e imparcialidade. Reportar imparcial está construir confiança e segurança. Esse é o que mais nos mira na Aruba que hace falta, falta grande. Mestre busca selectar e editar notícias de maneira justa e a la vez protegendo nos fuentes que está confidencial. Nos mestre tem responsabilidade. Ora que está cometendo erro, mestre corrigir isso aqui. E a correção mestre está sincero, não correção cínico. Lealtad na público, nos mestres sirve na interesse público, na interesse de comunidade e pone em necessidade de comunidade na primeiro lugar. Agora aqui me quero apresentar minha companheira Jorleni.
Boa tarde. Me quero agradecer por estar presente hoje tarde, que não cercana conosco. Lanzando el proyecto iniciativa aquí de RAP. Ok, quem a mitad, son que uno conoce a mitad de Costa Rica, me estudia, me escucho con Andreina, me estudia comunicación social, na Costa Rica, me gradua na 1997, me estudia periodismo, pero también me tengo una especialidad en publicidad. Na año 2001, 2002, me emigré a Aruba, y por de tempo aí, mais ou menos de 21 anos passados, casualmente, se man aqui me cumpri 21 anos trabalhando na diário como editor. E esse aí para mim estava tão escola. Pasora, escola para Kiko, pasora, además de forma como periodista, de empapeamento, pasora, me switch de um idioma para outro, ele ajuda a me hobby para chegar na no momento na aqui que nós está lançando rap. Como por visa, me tem uma trajetória na Aruba. Ok? Sí. RAP abordo fundar, Mambisa. Nós a começar a reunir na januário 2024. Nós estava de maneira um coletivo, nós estávamos um coletivo, um grupo de gente que estava tendo interesse para trazer um projeto assim na Aruba. Aqui querem, quando está tendo intenção de buscar de maneira como nós por profissionalizar o grêmio. Professora, já minha colega Namita quer explicar, verdade, que falta hobbies aí na Aruba, tem jovem que atualmente não por queda na Aruba, professora não diz assim, me gusta periodismo, me gusta comunicação, mas não tem na Aruba. Então, agora, de nós metas de futuro também para vir com um projeto assim, que nós por chegar, vir com colaboração com a universidade, por exemplo, para profissionalizar jovem aqui na mês. Nós não estamos uma universidade, nem nada assim, mas por ter algo assim no futuro. E foral é parte, busca maneira para vir com o projeto na maneira de papiamento. Isso é muito importante. Como nós for melhorar a maneira de escrever papiamento. Ok? Que tem benefício de estar membro de RAP? Nós temos algum benefício, que da maneira elevar e desenvolver personalmente, socialmente, e foral, profissionalmente e individual, verdade, en el ramo de periodismo, en el terreno de periodismo, crea conexión, pastora, também nos está trabajando de maneira não tem cohesión de gremio, então nos quer trazer essa parte aí, não, sei tem feld de periodismo. Então nos quer dar também oportunidade, por exemplo, de trazer workshops, assim seminário na maneira aqui, de uma ferramenta necessário na pessoa que estava trabalhando em periodismo na Aruba ou que quer vir a parte do grêmio de periodismo na Aruba também. E, foral, inspirar, encorajar e contribuir ao crescimento personal e profissional. Não? Se algum de vocês está interessado em virar membro, por mandar-nos um e-mail. Nós temos um e-mail, rap.aruba@gmail.com. Nós temos um canal de YouTube também, Rap Aruba. Nós está riva LinkedIn, Rede Arubiano, de Prensa Profesional. E ainda vocês por mandar-nos qualquer informação, pergunta, dúvida que vocês não têm, então nós está disponível para vocês. Muito obrigado.
Thank you, Your Lightning. Next up, we're going to have our first speaker. I'm going to introduce him. He is right now currently in the Netherlands. His name is Luis Aníbal Villegas. Most of you who might know him from Bondi Aruba. He was a freelancer there, I think, and I think he worked there like full-time, right? I'm going to introduce him, Venezuelan Aruban jurist in training, poet, and a freelance investigative journalist. Luis Villegas investigates issues concerning transparency, migration, climate, and colonialism, mostly relating to the ABC Islands in the Dutch Caribbean. This presentation will be an online presentation, and he's going to talk about the lob generator.
Hi, buon tardi. Posso ascoltarmi?
Luis, we can hear you, but I can't see you yet. Wait. No. Are you here? No. But I can, nope. Oh, wait. There you go. Oh. What? Wait. Cindy,
This is the version text.
Luis, ¿puedo tenernos? Hello? Hello, Luis? ¿Puedo tenernos? Ah, pero Anos no te atiende. Ah, bueno. Esta arriba es una televisión. So, ahora me te atiende. Sí. ¿Vos podés test working? No, me no te atiende, Luis. ¿Está muted o no? No, no está muted. Ajá. Sí, pero voy a estar en mute. ¿Vos podés unmute por mes? Ainda puedo mostrar muted. Vou pôr portava vou sair bem back then of minuto entendeu? Me te diz que sign to mute. Okay. Speaker before.
So that would be
Minuto atendiendo, ¿vos? ¿Vos te atendeme? Sí. Ah, vos minuto atende. A nós, ora nos testa que não, nós atende é sound, pero é um dibo não te drenta. Dus minutos sabe como. Check se tá. Não. Isso agora é para atendê-la. Minuto atendeva. Pero agora é minuto atendeva, mas é bom. Minuto aqui. Não. Minuto atendeva. Okay. Let me work. So, eu não tenho. Luís, vou se ele sim vou headphones maybe, vou como né quita vou headphones então assim eta riba é unido de laptop. No, nós não atendemos. Say, see me the tende. 5 minutos. Pero se gravou, viu? Vou por aí, o volume? Esse é o volume de Bob Mike, full.
Hello, hello. Hello?
Yeah, I will see. Yes.
Hello?
All right. Nos escuchamos loud,
Hello?
loud and clear.
Awasi?
Yes.
Awasi at atrás? Oh, wow. Ok, bontari, mita spera, ok, mita possível para escutar-me. Combai, mita contento por cara não conheci, mita Zétia, mita Ramon Totandare, mita Elizabeth, combai, bontari, welcome. It's lovely to see the smiling faces of people I know. And yeah, sadly, I'm not in Aruba right now. But yeah, just as Melissa was introducing me, mita bahasi a presentación en inglés. I will do the presentation in English. So then, to start, okay, some people know who I am, some people might not know who I am. So just to start there, I would like to give you an idea of who I am. So as Melissa was saying, I have been a journalist in Bondia, Aruba. I worked in the year 2017 and 2018. And then after that, I worked as a freelance journalist with Bondia as well. And I published also in Caribis Network for a few times. There, during my experience as a journalist in Aruba, I noticed that it's really difficult to get trusted sources, like to get documents, to get data. It's very difficult for journalists to get access to information that can be verifiable, that can be independently checked, and that the lack of data in Aruba is very concerning, because if there's any topic you want to cover as a journalist, you need to have access to some kind of data so that you can talk about it, so you can make a story that is really, let's say, juicy, right? Like with a lot of content that is useful for the public. So that's how I was first concerned about what can I really write about if all I have is, I can talk to people, but I need also data, I need documents, I need things that the government has and they maybe have, and I'm not sure. So actually it's funny, because before I was a journalist, I was busy with getting my residence permit, becoming a citizen in Aruba. And because of that, I had some autodidactic experience with the law and in administrative law. So then during that period, I was working in Bondia, and then I was like, oh, I found out about this law, Landsverordening Openbaarheid van Bestuur. I was like, huh? What? What is this? It's like, what? How come I didn't know about this? It's a law for how the government needs to be transparent, how they need to publish what they're doing, what their beleid is, what their policy is. So then that was my first contact with it, just finding out, like crawling on the government website. And yeah, so then that became a very interesting place for me because of my experience as a foreigner fighting to become a citizen, which is a procedure against the government. And then as a journalist, you also have to do with the government in the sense of when you want to receive documents from them. So yeah, I started doing my first requests, freedom of information requests. And I just noticed that the government is not really doing much with it. They don't answer. The law, it says all kinds of things about how they need to answer on time. They need to give you the documents within 3 weeks. You need to you need to get an adequate response, let's say. Yeah, so because I couldn't get anything, I was starting to think, okay, I need to go to court, I need to do this whole thing. And yeah, and I did go to court a few times, and I did win a few times, but still I noticed it seems like the government isn't very aware or doesn't really care much. You know, you could interpret it in different ways. Yeah, so then one of the things that I asked for was I was asking for the communication between the Prime Minister, Evelyn Weaver Cruz, and the developers or the representatives of the developers of the Secrets Hotel. Because I noticed when I was covering that topic in Aruba, I noticed that it was like the government really was speeding things up. Like everything needs to go fast, permits, everything, go fast. We need to make sure that we get this hotel. So, and then back then there were protests of the neighborhood, were organizations also, nature organizations at the time, that didn't really agree with there coming a hotel in Cerro Colorado, which is where the Secrets Hotel is now being built. So then when I was here in the Netherlands, I started getting more knowledge about this law, the transparency law, because the law that Aruba has and the law that Curaçao also has and the rest of the islands is based on the Dutch law. So then here I read more about the law, and I could see what are the requirements, more specific, like when the government says that we don't have anything about your topic, they actually need to say, where did you look? Who looked for it? When did you look? In which archive? Which search terms did you use? It's crazy that they need to go so specific, because otherwise it's not possible for the judge to control what the work that the government did if they did really look for the documents that you asked for. So then I found out about that stuff, and then I started requesting these documents from Secret Hotel. I asked for the emails between the Ministry of General Affairs and the Ministry of Infrastructure and the developers. Three Rivers is that's the name of the company, Three Rivers Real Estate. And I never really got an answer. And currently now I'm at the court, and I got a very good judge that was very critical with them, which because they first came with an answer like, no, we don't have anything. And I was saying like, okay, but how is it possible you don't have anything? If I asked for communicate emails that Otmar Oduber had with these people, that Evelyn had. So it's not just the minister now. I also asked for the previous minister's communication with them. And the judge was really very good. The judge from Curaçao, he was very grabbing them like, so is this really the truth? Is this what it is? Are you really going to say this answer? Because then I'm going to write it down, and then, we might not be able to come back from that. So that's still ongoing, unfortunately. So I don't have any documents to show you. But actually, what was very useful for me in this whole saga was this tool that I found out about, the WoW generator, which now I translated into Papimento and into English, because it's a tool that helps you as the person that's requesting it, a document at the government. It helps you to formulate the petition. So then, if you don't just need to make it from scratch, let's say. So I'm going to show you really quick the tool. I'm gonna give you a demonstration. I think it should go through. Let me check. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. I think this is it. Yeah.
Hi, Louis. Hello?
Okay. We'll see? Okay. Ay, Dios, okay. Kosang ki digital sempre taong kos, no? Okay, pero, sorry? Sami. Aha. I wanted to show you the tool. Can you see it right now on the screen? Awesome, okay. So, this is a website. That's what it is. I have it here in the Papimento version right now. And the foundation that I work together with is this Spoon. It's the Expertise Centrum for Wolverzoekers, for people that request documents from the government. And a lot of times that's going to be journalists, but that can also be people that are in a foundation that they have some kind of public cause. Let's say if you're a foundation in Aruba or on another island where you care about the well-being of the animals. I saw, Melissa, you published recently about the well-being of the animals. So these kinds of foundations, they could also use this tool to find out what the government is doing with their policies of the animals, for example. But you could also do it for, I heard that the taxi vergunning, the taxi permits are very interesting in this period. It was a very, it was kind of what happened before the government fell. So now I'm just going to show you, let's do it in English. And we're going to do it in Aruba, let's say, or Curaçao. So what you do is you go on the computer. It's something you need to use on the computer. And then you just click through it, basically. It tells you a few things, like some things here where it gives you a little bit of details. And the nice thing about it is you can see the tool generating the letter for you at the moment. So here I filled in already some stuff. Okay, I'm a journalist. Yeah. So here I have, okay, submission. You see the letter is on the right here, and on the left is what you're filling in. So here I filled in some stuff about me, my email. Okay, so here I have several types of organizations that are in Aruba or in Curaçao and St. Martin, because we organized it so that depending on the island that you want, that's the organizations that you're gonna get. So let's say we want Aruba. So then we have the Ministerio de Asunto General, Ministerio de Asunto Económico, Ministerio de Enseñanza y Deporte, Ministerio de Finanza y Cultura, Justicia, Labor, Transporte. Okay, so let's say it's the taxi, toch? Then you do transporte. Yeah. All right, let's go. Let's see, here we go. Taxi. Taxi vergunningen. Taxi permits. Right? Let's say you want all the documents, or you want a specific, let's say you want specific documents. So what it is when you do a request like this, what you have to think about is what are you requesting, in fact, because you could request the permits themselves. Let's say you ask for all of the permits that were given in the past year, so, or in the past 2 years, let's say. That's something you could do. However, you could also request more things, because you could request not only the permits, but also for example, the advice that they gave on each permit, or the correspondence, for example, like emails about a specific permit. Yeah, so you could do within the government agency. You could even ask for WhatsApp messages, which is an interesting thing. You could ask for the WhatsApp messages of a minister, for example. That's also possible with this law. So yeah, so let's say I want the internal correspondence and interview reports, the advices, right, about the taxi permits. You have a few extra options. These I'm just gonna leave out. Yeah, reason for sure. They need to give a reason. And you want digital documents. You don't want to get like copies. So then this is the letter it makes for you, and you can also adjust it afterwards. So here you save it as a doc file. Let's see. And then you have a file. It's literally just this. And then you can also edit it in your doc. So that's a little bit the tool that we developed. Well, actually, it's Spoon that developed it, and I just translated it into Papimento and English. So I wanted to also interact a little bit with you all and see what is it. Is there any? Do you think there's anything specific that we're missing information on? Let's do a brainstorm session. Ting kosan ko bosa ta pensa ko ta faltando, nos no ting suficiente información over je, cualquier cosa. Esse é tão bom. Eagle LNG, that's very important. Sí. Tem algo mais você ta pensa? Yeah. Exploración de gas, the gas exploration, yeah. That was something that happened a while ago, no? Are they still doing that? Interesting, yeah. Gas exploration, a lot of gas. Eagle LNG. Kiko mas, a mí me estoy pensando, there's also more hotels going on now. So they have the St. Regis also. It's also interesting. What else? So these are all topics that you could do a request based on. And I hope then in the future to be able to do a workshop with journalists, but also the public, to help the people that want to do these kind of requests to formulate it and to take it to the minister to ask for the documents and eventually go to court. That's all stuff that I can help with, and I would love to do that kind of workshop. So yeah, please keep in touch. I'm available through my website. You can annibalism.com. You can see. Let me see if I can show you that. So then the idea is to do some courses, some workshops for this freedom of information aspect. Yeah, so yeah, I would love to work together with you more, Melissa and Andreina, and with Rap, to give these kinds of workshops, because I think it would be very interesting if we can get more information that the government has that they're not really showing. So, brating hopikos mitakere ku hopikos tawara po ni din lachi, ting report ko tawara po ni din lachi, that they don't do anything with it. And it could be useful information for the public. Pasobra sina nos tahaya sa kiko ta edesisyonan ko tawara tuma, what is considered for a decision. All these types of things I think can be very interesting and important to find out. Well, I think that's it. Thank you.
Hello? Hello? I don't think that's working. Hello? Let me see. Let me see if I have to. Hello? I'm back. Thank you so much, Luis. I'm just going to leave this on. I'm going to go further with our presentation. Maybe you can listen in if you want. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was very insightful. And we're definitely going to be working with you because we really need more information, more public information, and more transparency on the island. Thank you so much. All right. I think I'm going to introduce our next speaker. He is not right now here, but I think I can take this moment to thank you guys for being here. I can see a lot of people that I know and a lot of people that I don't know as colleagues, so I'm very happy to see that. I hope to see you guys more frequently. I hope we have more gatherings so we can actually discuss ideas and how we can really build a more professional sector. And I see that my speaker is just back. I'm going to introduce him. His name is Marlon Kok. He has a master's degree in computer science and has undertaken a multi-phased journey throughout his 20-plus year career in IT, spanning both the public and private sectors. He is an user experience expert, a former lecturer at the University of Aruba, and a speaker on topics of innovation, user-centered design, and more recently, the practical uses of AI in business. He currently leads the IT projects and architecture team at Aruba Bank. His approach to AI integration is pragmatic. He aims to guide companies through the hype by distilling complex concepts into actionable insights, while also providing a forward-looking perspective on the AI landscape to address challenges up ahead. Please welcome Marlon Kok.
So I just need that cable. Just hier de kabel, oké. Ze even mag me komen, oké. I consent. All right. Let me just go in stoel rato. Pune que não como standby. All right. Montari, dankie. Is dat oké? Zie je me zitten? Alsjeblieft. Zo? Não estamos weird, no? Boa que ele tá dentro de custa. Okay, you guys need to teach me how to do this. Oh, gewoon meneer een headphone? Serieus? Okay, now it feels even more weird, but okay. All right, so I seen it all? Okay, all right, I trust you. Okay. All right, so that whole intro was written by ChatGPT. I had nothing to do with it. No, I'm kidding. All right, so let's talk about this. This thing is going to drive me crazy at some point, but we'll be okay. I just move slowly and calmly. All right, so let's talk about AI and journalism. So first things first, we need to talk about what AI is and what it's not. So just to separate a couple of things out. Because everything is AI nowadays. It's a very sexy buzzword, and there's a lot of momentum behind it. But true AI is very difficult to build, okay? So I just want to lay it out a little bit what we are talking about. So AI is very complicated and requires a lot of data to make something useful of it, right? And that data is usually very expensive, requires a lot of power, requires a lot of curation. So this is if you want to build, we're not going to build AIs. Nobody in this room is building AIs because it costs a lot of money, right? So we're not going to focus on those type of things. The other type of AI is very algorithmic, right? So you develop a small piece of code and you unleash that code on a very big data set in order to, for instance, categorize all the animals in the list in cats, dogs, that kind of thing, right? Also requires a lot of curation and cost associated, so we're not going to talk about those things as well. The one I want to focus on are AI tools, things that you can use right out of the gate that is available to you, and I'm going to focus on the element of time. So these are things that you can go on the internet and pay $20 for a service, and that's the stuff I want to focus on because this is much more affordable, gets you going right now, and you don't need a lot to do in order to get started. Now, think of these things, and I know for the ladies in the audience, think of it this way. You are rich, and when you're rich, you're going to probably have a couple of personal assistants walking around you, checking your email, handling your calls, scheduling your stuff, okay? Now imagine that you have a personal assistant, it is an expert in marketing, it's an expert in computer science, it's an expert in a bunch of stuff. And all of that is available to you on your phone, right? So you need to look at AI as virtual personal assistants that you can go to for the stuff that you don't know or to process some of the items that you want to off-list. Now, obviously, ChatGPT is a big part of this because ChatGPT is an expert in about 70 things, right? It's an expert computer scientist, math, does a little bit. It's not that strong in chemistry for some reason, very good in history. So it does like 70 things very expert level, another 50 things high to medium, and it struggles with chemistry and a couple other things that still needs to be involved. But this is a large language model. A lot of data has gone through it. So it's definitely the type of things that very useful. Now, this is a big one. What you'll see in the future is ChatGPT being broken down into smaller models that are much more specific that you can use and download and get going. Now, this is where you need to give me some rope. I'm just going to the process of journalism involves a series of steps in order to produce an article, okay? Now, give me some rope on these items. I just broke it down in a way that I understand it. Part of it is just gathering the angle, what you want to write, and then the actual writing. But then, this is where I want to focus on later in the presentation. Now, obviously, you could use AI in different, let me rephrase that. You can use AI to support the process at various stages in writing an article, right? What is interesting is, okay, which one of these processes do we think requires the most time that you could offload safely? I'm not going to even touch the writing because I'm not going to suggest, hey, maybe we should let ChatGPT write. I know that process is pure, and that's where you guys shine, so I want to keep that. But think of it as using AI for the work around the work, okay? So for instance, I don't hire people every day. But when I do, I have to perhaps formulate a job description. Job description is one of those things that it takes a long time to do, and you don't do it often. But when you do it, it's like an hour or an hour and a half of your life. So nowadays, I just go to ChatGPT. I need a guy or a girl, anything, that does this, that does that, blah, 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 so many years experience, affinity to these type of programs. Give me an offset, and they would draft it, and that's probably the one, tweak it a little bit, and I'm done in 5 minutes. So it's not for my actual work, but it's for the work around my work, and it saves me time. So that's the angle I want to focus on primarily. Saving you time, increasing productivity. Anything that you can offload to an AI, let's try that. And the idea is that if you can increase the amount of deliverables, you can do more deliverables per month, theoretically, right? So that's the focus. I want to focus on using AI for the purpose of saving you time in your rudimentary actions. So in fact, what I'm proposing is building time machines, places you can go to save time because you have an AI taking care of that. It's the same way, if you were rich, you wouldn't be checking your emails, you would have a personal assistant. Just give me the summary of what is important. Take a look at all my emails. Give me a summary of my action points for this week. Well, that is not a person, that is now a computer program. And it saves you time, right? So the element of time is very important. But there is one other crucial perspective that I want to inject into this conversation. So essentially, I'm bridging AI and something else that I think is important. So let's trim the process down to these essentials. You're gathering, you're writing, you're dressing it up, and now you're publishing. Somebody's going to have to read it. You can produce a Pulitzer Prize-winning article, but you still have to interface with your audience, right? So at some point, somebody's going to read it. So there's an intersection when these two crowds meet, you and your audience. And at that point, I want to talk a little bit about what it takes to create that alignment. And that is UX, that is user experience design. Now, what is that? In technology products, this is the reason why an iPhone is well designed. This is why you use Amazon. Nobody in this room has ever gone to Amazon because it's a beautiful website to look at. No, you go because you can get your stuff done, it's efficient, it's user-friendly. User experience design is the mechanism in which we produce user-friendly products. This can be digital, this can be a remote control, this can be even the doors of this building. You would be amazed how badly designed doors are everywhere. Like this door right here has a handle both on the outside and the inside. But the scharnier only goes one way. So why is there a handle on both sides? There should be a push plate on one side, and there should be a handle on those sides that you pull. This is something that they pay attention to in hospitals because you don't have time to, oh shit, this door doesn't open this way, let me try it this way. You don't have time to do that in a hospital, but you do allow that here. But the funny thing about doors is you walk through 20 doors. By the time you wake up, and by the time you get to your office, you've walked through 20 doors, and all of them different design, and how many you have to count how many times you do this. Oh, it's not pull, it's push. Oh, it's not push, it's pull. Doors are wildly bad design. So user experience is tailoring, paying attention to how products align to users. Now, there's a good reason for this in product design, in the stuff that we build, technically, because if you get it wrong, it has to go back and rework, and that costs a lot of money, right? So for instance, in banking, the online banking is completely designed from the user, working our way backwards to the technicals. So when we design a feature, the first thing we do is start sketching. What does this feature look like? How are people going to use it? Where are the buttons going to be located? I test a sketch, and if that sketch works and you understand where you are and you can accomplish a task, then I start building it. Why? Well, it's simple, because if it's easier to erase a line on a piece of paper and have you look at it again, than build the thing and then sledgehammer through it. The costs are just wildly expensive. Plus, this is not Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner film. This is not if you build it, they will come. That used to be the case with office environments where you have a captive audience. Yes, we can switch the IT system and I'll send you to training to learn how to use it. That works if you have a captive audience. It doesn't work when you're developing products online, because you don't have time to train 60,000 people at a time. And if you're Amazon, you don't have the time to do that with millions of people. So you have to align, make sure that there's an alignment, and then design for that alignment. So this is the way we design anything technical. From airplane cockpits, like this is watching what they do, when they do it, making sure this is in the screen, or this is a button, or this is a lever. Like, there's a lot of thought that goes into that. Apps, any apps that you deem is user-friendly, lots of UX in it. Lots of making sure how do you do these tasks, and are you able to complete these things in a timely fashion. And this is the same way we built websites, cities, education systems, transportation system, all of the apps that you love and you use, a lot of streamlining for that user. And it's in apparel, it's in parks design, so it's everywhere, right? So the Achilles heel of any good product is excellent task support. People are trying to get things done. And this is something that can be measured, right? So it used to be like, I like this website. It's beautiful colors, has nothing to do with this. Can you accomplish your task in a timely fashion, time, speed? How many errors do you make? If you make an error, can you recover? Do you know where you are? If I send you a link and it opens in Amazon, do you know where you are? Are you in shoes or are you in closets? Like, where are you on this website? Orientation, navigation, very important. These things can be measured. So good design can be measured. Now, I'm not trying to make you designers, but all of you can evaluate bad design. If I show you a brochure, the first thing you need to ask is, who is this designed for, and what are they supposed to come away with watching this brochure? Like, that's a task. If I give you a remote control and I ask you, is this a good remote control? First thing you should ask, what's the task? What am I testing for? So all of you can test bad design. So why is this important? Because you're aiming small, missing small, making sure that your product aligns with your user. Now, what does that got to do with article writing? This is what I was saying before, easier to erase something on a sketch than to put a sledgehammer to. You can just imagine the cost. Now, what does that got to do with article writing? So I want to take a page out of the UX playbook and apply it to article writing. And this is selfish, because I'm trying to fulfill my own needs here. But bear with me, maybe you'll see an angle that you haven't considered before. Because at the end of the day, you can write a Pulitzer Prize winning article, but then you have to publish it, and the audiences are wildly different. Maybe you have a range. I write for all people. I'm just, But what does that translate? How does that translate to Instagram? Like, the mediums are different, and does the content has to transform to that medium, right? So I'm very much interested in this area when these two things combine. And I apologize for this. I have the audacity to say that an article is a product just so I can talk about alignment. So this is a personal quest, right? Because this is usually how you interface with long text online. This is Washington Post, very long text, like 4 pages worth of text with ads in between for some reason, so I have to jump over the ads to read. This is great for readers, but if you're not a reader, you kind of need some help. New Yorker, also very lengthy text. What is the audience here? The audience are readers. You're not going to grab non-readers or people who are very visually inclined, especially if you're used to seeing reels all day. This is a very laborious effort, right? So very respectable places. Well, I'm not sure about the New York, but Washington Post, I think we can all agree. very standard layout for the product that is being used. Opening image and then swaths of text. Can we make that better is the question. So this is where I would like some help. You see this thing? I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it. This is a portfolio. It's a Courant from Colombia. Now, what do I love this thing for a specific reason. The standard way to present published information is title, a little bit of text, and then read page 7. Then another title, a little bit of text, read page 28. Now, you're assuming that that is a strong enough hook for me to go to that page. Portfolio does it differently. Portfolio uses a lot of infographics, charts, as an additional hook. Now, why is this particularly interesting to me? Because if I'm reading a Courant, I would skip the accidents, I would skip the obituary stuff. I have a certain interest. It's like windows shopping. If I'm walking in the main street and I'm going to Mario Sports Shop, I'm going to pass a bunch of stores. Now, if some of them pay attention to how they arrange their windows, they might just hook me and say, "Oh, what is this? This wasn't on my agenda, but it pulled me in." This is the same behavior I notice for myself when I'm going through 24 Horas, you skip a bunch of stuff, you're just scanning for the stuff that you're interested with. If I'm reading this, and I pay like $30 for this thing, so you would think I'm going to read everything. I don't. I have a specific set of articles in it, and I'm going to browse through the rest. Portfolio kind of helps you in that. It starts with the chart. If you're just browsing, I'm not interested in this topic per se, but it's like driving by and watching billboards. You're just collecting information. And that information might just entice me enough to wait. What is this going on here with milk prices or something? I don't even understand these words. I haven't paid attention to this. But I'm just saying, I like this. And it speaks to a wider audience than just people who want to read. This is a very standard, but pay attention to this particular picture. Somebody had to go and find the stock photo that matches with the content of the page. This is important, and I'll come back to that. This one is a particular interesting one for me, because I have no interest in this. I was just browsing. But then I noticed, oh, this is about Copa Airlines. And this quote here, they kind of like fish out the quote of, the gist of the article, and they write it and say, hey, Colombia crecemos 20%. So, wow, I'm just passing through, and this pops up to me. That's interesting. This is Copa? 20% growth? Wow. And then I'm looking at what is infographic-style teasers for the actual article. And I'm just passing through, and I can see they fly to 85 destinations, move around like 70 million people, have 102 planes. I thought this was a smaller operation, and 378 flights per day. I know a little bit more about Copa that I wasn't planned on learning, just because they presented a mix of visuals and text. And I'm kind of both, personally. I can do technical work, but I'm also, when I explain stuff, I'm drawing all the time, because it helps me, right? So I kind of need that. That's a personal need, but I would imagine if you write articles this way, if you use, what is this about? Let me just take the kernzin and put it right here. Let me do some charts. It would speak to a wider audience, and not only the people who are readers. And if you arrange your information this way, you're not only creating a better alignment with the public, but you're widening that base. Because now my son is passing through, and so, hey, what is this about? And we could talk about it. This could also be the basis for social media posts, where people don't read, they watch, and especially a reel is just something that flicks by in a few seconds. So this is what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to connect. Before I talk about AI tools, I want to frame that from a perspective of, okay, what are we talking about? So there's a lot of AI tools to choose from, but I want to focus that effort in items that will save us time and align us better with the UX. And that's not the writing. That is the work around the writing. When you have finished an article and you need to publish it, that's where I suspect most of us need help. Because you're not a marketing expert, you're not a social media expert, you've written a Pulitzer Prize 5-page article. How are you gonna distill that for Instagram, for LinkedIn? Different crowds, different needs, right? So that's where we need help, in that conversion to the audience. That's why I'm bringing UX to the fold. And why? Because you're competing in an attention economy with everything else. People love reels. It's easy, you don't have to think about it. You're trying to inject your stuff into that reel, so you're gonna have to pay attention to how they consume that. So which AI tools to use? There are just too many AI tools out there for different things. But the ones that I'm interested in, for the purpose of this conversation, not again the writing, I don't think you need any help there, that's a pure process, but maybe with the gathering, the transcription I hear is a pain in the ass. We'll get to that. Dress it up. How do we dress up articles? And then publishing. How do you take one 5-page text, chop it up for Instagram, WhatsApp, I don't know if WhatsApp is the same, but you know what I'm saying, like different channels, different view. Because this is also important. You can write a Pulitzer Prize, but if nobody reads it, what is the point? And I want to read it. But I'm also busy. I don't have time to read every 5-page article that comes across. So if you can just give me a little bit of help, sometimes visually, I might focus on the stuff I'm interested in and kind of gather the rest by osmosis, almost, because I'm just exposed to it. Now, if you look at where the most effort is going towards AI tools, it's in this area, on the right, on the left side, yeah. So it has, most of the AI tools that exist are for content creation and editing, and image generation is a big void of time, it's a vortex of time. I'll get to that in a second. Technical assistance, but this is because ChatGPT is very useful in computer programming, in my field of science, because if I get stuck, I don't have to scour Google for hours finding the right code or some help. I can just talk to ChatGPT, it's an expert, and I'll get a code that works. It's speeding up, it's a time machine. And then personal, I think this has to do more with summarizing text, getting out the points that are valuable, that kind of thing. So this is where I want to focus, right? And for the purpose of this conversation, I think we should focus on a few of these things. Image generation is cool. How are you going to get charts done? Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know. It's fine. That's fine. So I think charts are a pain in the ass. If you write something, if you're writing about, for instance, a caída de governo, there must have been a sequence to this, this happened, and then she said this, and then Ursula said this. There must be, I would like to see that juxtaposition against the timeline. Is there a tool that can help me build a timeline? Okay, I'm writing about puppies being abused and how many of these cases occur in which cities in Aruba. That's a chart. Can I just feed this thing to ChatGPT and have it compile the chart? Because it takes so much time to build this in Word or Excel or PowerPoint, right? So that's what I'm saying. You already collected the data. Now you need help presenting it, right? So I think image generation and these things that we'll take together. Transcripts, for the life of me, I don't understand how you can sit in court. You're not allowed to record, but you are allowed to make notes, which is an interpretation of what people say, and then you go back. I mean, we've seen so many videos nowadays of me telling a joke, you telling that joke, and by the time it's the fifth person, that joke has transformed. So, but there are technical ways around this. You don't have to record, but you can transcribe, and you just have that microphone here, not record it, but transcribe it immediately. Because AI, it's actually just two things: natural language processing and inference. Natural language processing, Example, Alexa. Alexa needs to be able to understand the frequency and the sounds coming out of my mouth, and then translating that into actual words. Oh, this is a verb. Quer vai come. Oh, this like persoonsvorm and verb. Oh, I understand. Syntacticamente me to compreender o que quer. We need to apply semantics, like what is the meaning of what he's saying. So it's collection and it's making sense. That's AI. And these things can be very complicated, but Alexa is a very simple way of illustrating this. And then we'll talk about some cool stuff that maybe opens up pathways in your neural networks that you can think about in the future. And then some how are we going to sell this to different things? So I'll just sit down and do some examples. Now let's get back to this cow. Say you're writing a story about the last remaining cow in Santa Rosa, Betty. I'm just making stuff up, okay? But you know what? You're thinking, I could really use a picture of a cow walking around on Eagle Beach. Does this exist? Hell no. Are you going to commission a cow to be on Eagle Beach? No. You're not going to spend hours on stock photos. You just need a picture to go with your article. Or you want any picture that encapsulates the vibe of your article. So this is where this becomes fun, right? Now, you guys are familiar with, you're definitely familiar with ChatGPT. Copilot is the new kid on the block. This is Microsoft. Oh, of course. Yeah, let's deal with this situation. That's weird how he, oh, I know why he's doing that. Let me just figure this thing out. I need to go from, where is that? Multiple to, even kijken hoor. I just fixed it for the previous guy, so I should be able to, you would think, right? I should be able to do this for myself. Let me see if I can muscle it a little bit. That one, yeah. Yeah, all right. All right, we got video. So we need a picture of Betty, for lack of better words. Now, I can go to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT 4.0 is substantially better than any ChatGPT before. I mean, it's getting scarily good. You don't need to worry about writing, but just, I don't want to put any fears in you, but this is ChatGPT 4. Just imagine the world in ChatGPT 8. This is a different ballgame, all right? I'll get to that at the end. But for this purpose, I can just sit down here. And my ChatGPT is quite busy because I have a bunch of plugins. So yours is going to be much simpler. Plus, I have the Plus version, which is like $20 per month, and it gets you to where you need to go. But just for the sake of argument, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to generate a picture of a cow on the beach in Aruba. It's going to try to do, and I'll cancel this one. And it's going to provide me with something. Now, the same action, and because this is a conversational language model, I can say, okay, try this, and do slippers, and turn it pink, like all kinds of stuff. Now, this is not Aruba. Now, ChatGPT, I don't particularly like ChatGPT's image generator because it's using DALL-E, which I think it sucks. But that's just me. But again, if you're doing something on the fly, anything will help, right? And again, I'm showing you tools that you can use today. Another one, Copilot, if every Windows PC comes with Edge browser, which is their own built-in, and Edge, if I go to a homepage of this, you can see this button right here, and I'm hoping nothing inappropriate pops up. I don't use this, so anything is going to be super randomly generated. But do you see this Copilot right here? That is Microsoft's ChatGPT, okay? And the good thing about Copilot, it's conversational as well. So I can, I'm lazy, so I'm just going to copy-paste what I just wrote for the sake of time as well. It's going to be right here. Cool. Now, I'm assuming it knows what Aruba is, right? but I'm going to give it the same instruction. And it's going to do its best. It's going to generate. I'll try to create that, is what it says. And again, you can regressively try to improve on this. And you can add some palm trees. You can do it in a sunset, turn it pink or surprise, like all kinds of crazy stuff. Still not Aruba, I feel. So the one that I use for professional grade images is Midjourney. And obviously, I can send you guys all of this up. Again, these things are like $10 per month, $20 per month. I mean, it's considering the time saving that you're getting, well worth it, right? So back to this one. Now, Midjourney requires a little bit of handling because it doesn't present itself easy, and it's like a chat, and you're just asking the image generator to do your opdracht, but you're just watching what everybody else is doing, right? So again, here, and there's a specific way you need to talk to it, imagine, because you can like blend and you can upload 2 pictures, you can do a bunch of stuff. But I'm just going to keep it simple, do image, and then put the same stuff in it, and then it's going to queue me up. And the cool thing about this is you can see what everybody else is generating. And you can go crazy with the descriptions as well, right? I want this with a Nikon lens, a 50, whatever. You specify it, it will go to work. So as it's doing that, just, you know, as a mental, this is Midjourney's front page. Now, bear in mind, these things don't exist in any stock library on the planet. These people do not exist. This is not a picture of a lady. This is generated. So is this and everything else, like this kid right here, this lady, none of it exists. You just write it, and it generates it for you. Now, the stupid thing, to some extent, is that you have to write it. I mean, super big AI, and you need to write it down, which kind of, it's not a problem for you guys, because you guys are relative, very high on the communicative spectrum, right? But not everybody is, right? So, but this is just a transient state. Once these things get voice boxes, and you can talk to them like a Ryan Reynolds, right? No? Okay, more of a George Clooney crowd? Okay, whatever. All right, so once these things get voice boxes, you can start talking to it like a normal person. But right now, the limitation is just text. Back to this Midjourney, see what it found. Much more like it. Now, I can't, this one's cool. So I can do high resolution of that one, and that's it. Took me 10 seconds to generate my custom vision of what I want for the article that I'm writing. So as an example, I have one of Melissa's articles, and I just cleaned it out. Now, this is an example of what I was saying before. This is, you produce this. This is an excellent article, by the way. We're just going to add some visuals to it, right? Yes, yeah. So the first thing I need is, I need a nice header image, because this is going to go online. And it's about dogs, and it's about, you know, we'll skip to what it's about, because, you know. You did like my picture? I did. But also, no. I wanted to be super polite, but then also honest. Doesn't go well. No, I think we can improve that. And I just wanted to use it as an example of how quickly we can create the visuals associated with these things. Now again, I wrote it up, or she wrote it up. She's going to need a custom picture. Now, because I use Midjourney as a default for high resolution, I already kind of, because I prepare for these things, obviously, I went in and I wrote, generate an image of an oil painting of a dog surviving abuse. I don't know why I did that, but it's contextual. And is now living with a loving family. Nobody has this. It took me 10 seconds to generate this, or actually the AI. And I downloaded it, and that can then now become the front image to my article. Now we're not done. We still need charts, right? We got to dress it up a little bit. Let me take a look at this thing. I like this one. Boom. That's going to be what I'm going to publish. This is what's going to show up on The Economist. It's not Economist, but New York Times. We're aiming high, people, okay? Now, the rest of we can dress it up with actual pictures, which you get from press. I'm interested in charts, because she was highlighting, or she was communicating to me, that she left out statistics because she just didn't have time to do it. I'm not sure if I should say that. Okay, so the statistics were left out for X reasons, and we're not going to go into that right now. That's more, yeah. But I do like the statistics part because I need visual help. And I think having an overview of where these things happen might be a great thing to do. This is where I go back to ChatGPT though, okay? So I have here text that were not included into the main text. I can take this, copy paste it, it's unstructured, right? And I just go to ChatGPT, and I already did this, but I'm gonna do it again. Say, hey, let's drop it in there and say, let me take away, oh no, let me just leave the total. Can you generate, and you always be nice to robots, by the way, because if something happens, you know, they might just, you know, be a dot. All right, so generate a chart using the information above. I'm just gonna leave it super unstructured, because normally, the more specific you are, the more specific you get. But in this case, for this first try, let's see what it does. And let's just hope it doesn't take too long. Not bad. Dog-related incident. Bear in mind, I just copy-pasted. This was Dutch, I believe. And it can understand Dutch. So it's just relaying me back in English. Is this, no, you know what? I want use horizontal chart, diagram. No, what is that? Staff diagram? Chart. Let's just do chart. And now I'm going to ask, you know what? Do an extra color for all of these things. All right. I didn't have to do this in Word or Excel. God forbid Excel, right? And then use a different color for each city, assuming that it knows that one of these axes is actually city. Oh yeah, don't worry about this. This is just me with a licensing thing. Oh, what? That's a surprise. Okay. So this concludes my presentation. No, I'm kidding. So apparently I hit a limit because I was preparing for this. Not to worry, I have a bunch of charts that I generated using ChatGPT. So where would be a good place to, let me just drop it right here. Okay, because I downloaded it, and it's all on my drive. And I'll just have to go here in the Melissa folder, and there's like 2 of them. Boom, now I have a chart. What was the total elapsed time? I think we were busy a minute. How much time do you think it would take you to do this in Excel or Word or whatever? Right? Time machines. So not to do the work of writing and the research and the angles. You don't need ChatGPT, that comes from the inside. But for the production assistance, definitely AI tools. It will speed you up. You will sleep earlier at night, I hope, right? And that's the important. And why stop at charts? Maybe you can just go infographics. Or you can ask it, you know what, the chart that I just gave you, make it into a face of a dog, like do crazy stuff. And ChatGPT will like do different design rounds, and you can choose something that is cool. How am I doing with time? Well, what is that up to? 5? All right. Okay. I think I can do something with 5. Don't lose connection again. Oh. Yeah, here we go. All right. Set it right so it's not right. Yeah, it's not good for the pictures, is it? Yeah, yeah, okay. Thank you for that. Because otherwise all the pictures would be with a headband or something. It's crazy. Okay. So image generation. Wow, this is super loud now. Image generation, huge time savings. And you don't even have to venture out into brand new AI tools. Like, you just use the stuff that is readily available to you. You're trying to get a task completed in a short amount of time. These tools are available to you for no money. Copilot is a part of Office 365, you can get it as an attachment to that. This thing is about $20, that thing is about $10 or $20. This is no money for the amount of time that you're saving. So again, that kind of dresses up. You're using AI to dress up your articles, right? What else can we do? How about transcriptions? Okay, you can use dedicated apps for this by mobilizing your phone or weaponizing your phone. It's not a good word. What is the right word? Doesn't matter. But you can also use Teams. If you open a Teams meeting and you put that phone here, you can choose if you want to record the actual meeting using the camera, or you can ask it to just go straight to transcription. And I've tested this by putting my phone on the desk, and we were just talking in the room, and it was transcribing, which is the same thing if you were sitting in court. You're not recording, but it's transcribing directly to the phone using stuff that is also available to you. Yeah, now that's where we run into a pickle, don't we? But the court's going to be, yeah, it does its best. Like, we were talking Papimento, this is not a readable transcript. This is just example. Yeah, coming soon. Again, GPT-4, what does the world look like with GPT-6? That's the thing. But the courts are in Dutch, so we shouldn't be having issues, right?
Well,
again.
It's in Dutch and in Papimento, and you're not allowed to record in the courtroom. So transcribing, I don't know if that's in the guidelines.
Yeah. I'm out of my depth for this one. I'm just suggesting technology solutions for this, right? The thing is, use what you have. These things will get better over time. It's definitely a help. If you have a way to collect transcriptions, you take that text, you put it in the chat GPT, give me summarize it for me. Give me the action points. What did he say? Give me everything that was said by this guy. You can start to distill it down to something that you could use. Now, okay, that's transcription, that's dressing up articles. Let's go crazy. This is Anthesia. $60 per month or something. Say you have a website, say you have a news website, and you want to anchor the news. You don't have time to do the production work, the filming, the editing. How about if you just provide a transcript or a script to a digital avatar that just looks like you and have them read it for you? So you can have an entire telecast using people that do not exist for $60 per month. Now, the great thing is these are generated, but if you were to upload videos of yourself doing this 2 or 3 times, it would learn your mannerism, your voice, and how you wordplay. And then you can just feed it transcripts, and you'll have a fully production level version of you doing the news. Now, think of how crazy this would be for 24 Horas and Enfoque. Stay with me, because you have a lot of information, right? Now, you can do this for Papimento. I'm going to stay away from Papimento, but you can have Speed Andrade talking Spanish, perfect English. Probably because you're training it with Enfoque data, is going to be autocar and really loud, and Patrick's going to be like, Ursula, let's talk about this. So, that difference is going to be there. But if you have footage of yourself reading the news, you can just upload it, it will learn, and then you have these type of things that you can just put on your website. And I can go to that website, or a chat, or say, for instance, Melissa has a website with all of her articles. You can put a chat bot on that website, and I can go to that website, hey, what is the issue with this? And then it will check it in one of the articles that she wrote, because that's the basis for it. And I can have like a conversational avatar of Melissa on her website when she's not there. This is not a stretch. I mean, these things exist, and it's available to you for $60. Now, this is AI. It took a lot to get to this point. Somebody built it so you can just leverage it for $60 per month. Right? So AI on the dressing up, AI on chopping it down for Instagram. Use these things as personal assistants to help you speed things up and cover the areas that you're not covering in. I'm going to wrap this up. So in my previous life, just to give you an indication of time, in my previous life, I was a web developer. I used to build websites, right? Somebody would come to me and say, hey, I have an idea for this website. And it would take me about a week or 2 weeks to distill that, what they have in their minds, to something that I can show them. Is this what you had in mind? Like, is this the look and feel of the website? And I think, for instance, if somebody's coming to me, you know what, I do pottery, small pottery for cactus, and my whole business is going to be selling custom pottery that I make myself, and it's going to be cool. Where on earth am I going to find stock photos of small pottery that you can put a cactus in it, right? It's going to take me hours. So if somebody comes to me with a website design or an idea for a website, I'm going to have to design it from scratch. It takes me about 2 weeks before I can get it. Is that what you have in mind? And we go back and forth. With Midjourney, I can sit down in 1 hour at Starbucks, say, let's talk about this. And let's have him, I call it a him, but it can be her, generate these web design examples for me. Because where am I going to find examples for this particular niche product that you want to sell? Total elapsed time? 2 days tops? Of something that would take me 2 weeks to do? And I haven't even built a website yet. So ideation, the process of generating ideas, incredibly performance gains, task performance gains. So don't venture too far out in the landscape of AI tools. Stay within Microsoft. Copilot is built into PowerPoint, into Excel, into Word. You need a PowerPoint presentation about a specific topic, 5 pages. You open PowerPoint. There's the logo of Copilot. Say, hey, Copilot, I need a 5-page presentation on this topic. Choose the topic. And it will generate it for you in 2 seconds. You can edit it. You can even say, you know, I don't like that picture. Put a different picture on slide 5. It will do that again. You'll go back and forth, just like you have a personal assistant doing this for you. Incredible time games. Wrapping this up. So what does this future ask for you? Not particularly for you, because you guys are very highly communicative. Other people struggle with this. Like, for instance, my wife, and I joke about this all the time, we would be sitting in the house, and she was like, hey, can you get the thing in the kitchen for me? So what thing? There's like 75 things in the kitchen. Can you be specific? The thing on the fridge, okay, now you reduce it to 25 things. Can you be more specific? See, I'm a programmer. I need specifics. And she's not. So she's like, I need to be able to read her mind or something, right? So you cannot talk to that way to ChatGPT, because you will get vague information. But the more specific you are, the better the results. But the cheese has moved, for those of you who read the book. ChatGPT is a different game. The needle has been moved forward. So you won't be replaced by AI, but people who use AI will replace you, because their task performance is going to be so much better. They're going to complete more work in less time, higher quality grade, because even though if you guys can compete on the writing, they're still going to be able to do all of the stuff around it faster. So if you can't beat them, join it, kind of thing. And that's it. That's basically it. In a nutshell, let me just write this. Okay. So I kept your writing pure. I kept your investigation pure, the angle that you want to write pure. I just want you to focus on the AI tools around the work, and for the purpose of aligning this with your users. So not only you service that audience, your base audience, better, but you also expand on people that you haven't been able to capture before. And it's a combination of AI tools to speed up your project or your performance, but it's also UX, a little bit knowledge of what makes product user-friendly. That's it. That's all I have.
Okay, we are really way over time, so maybe we can take a 5-minute short break, and then we come back for our keynote speaker. Yes? All right. our keynote speaker. I don't even have words to say how excited I am that she is here, because we took a long shot to ask her to be here, and she just said, yes, yeah, sure. And I was very surprised when she said that, and then we made all our efforts to make it happen. So let me introduce to you Carla Minet. She is the Executive Director of the Centro de Periodismo Investigativo CPI. She is a member of the Investigative Reporters and Editors, the IRE, and of the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, the ICIG. Carla has worked on big investigations such as Panama Papers, Pandora Papers, and Paradise Papers. Welcome, Carla Minet.
Thank you. Thank you. So, good night, everyone. I am very happy that you were able to get your wine before I started, so that you wouldn't be thinking of it while I was talking. Thanks to the inspiring and brave women who brought me here, Andreina, Georgileni, and Melissa. I am honored to be here. I am very happy. Congratulations on creating the Red Arubiano de Prensa Profesional, the RAP. It feels very exciting, and I could feel yesterday and today the emotion around this project, and excitement that comes when something new is about to begin. So I congratulate you on your braveness. Thanks for bringing me here and making me part of it. My main language is Spanish, but I will speak in English today for the sake of the fellow journalists from the other islands. I want to talk to you about the Centro de Periodismo Investigativo, the Center for Investigative Journalists, where I come from. I've been working at the center for the past 10 years as the executive director and chief editor. And the center started with 2 people, our founders, Oscar Serrano and Omaya Sosa Pascual, who were censored. They were investigative journalists working on the main newspapers in Puerto Rico, and their investigations were censored, and they decided to found the center and start a nonprofit organization that would be protected from political and economic interest. That was 17 years ago. And basically, we are the first organization of its kind in the Caribbean right now. We operate in a complex political landscape in Puerto Rico, which is controlled by U.S. and federal state laws, and an unsustainable economic system. We've had a bankruptcy process for the government of Puerto Rico for the past 7 years, and increasing corruption. We offer weekly investigations, we have a training institute, and we have freedom of information litigation. And our funding is not tied to any economic or political interest. We receive money from foundations in Puerto Rico, in the US, international foundations, and we also have campaigns for reader support, which are a big part of our budget. This is the kind of journalism that we do. In 2019, in Puerto Rico, we published an investigation and a telegram chat between the governor, Ricardo Rosselló, and many of his friends, and also government officials of him. And it showed corruption, it showed abuse of power, it showed basically how they despise Puerto Ricans, how they talk about women, how they were doing political work during their work hours, and people were enraged by this publication, and protest increased in a way in which he had to resign in August 2019. So we had been working on investigations around him when we met the source of this Telegram chat, and we were able to get it. Some other media were publishing small pieces of the chat, but we negotiated with the source that if we didn't have it completely, we wouldn't do anything. We wouldn't publish a piece of the chat. We were able to get it. It was 889 pages, and it was published in the at 2 a.m. in the morning once we had our investigation ready, and it was spread everywhere, and it had these consequences. Another big investigations that we published were those after Hurricane Maria and Irma in Puerto Rico. We published a story a week after the hurricane explaining that the amount of death that the government was officially recognizing, which was 12 people, was not accurate, that there were thousands of other people that died because of the hurricane, not because of the wind or the flooding, but because of the lack of electricity, because of no people could rescue them at their homes, especially elder people. And we started documenting a process in which we were able to show that more than 500 people had died because of the hurricane, just as a sample of the problem that was happening and the government was not working on solving. By a year after Hurricane Maria, we published our whole investigation in collaboration with Associated Press and Quartz, and it became like a huge problem for the government. They had to acknowledge the death of these people. They had to pay for a study made by George Washington University and Harvard University to identify the accurate number of people that were deceased. This was a protest of the people in front of the capital of Puerto Rico because they were so enraged and so humiliated by the way in which the government was handling this issue that they took the shoes of their deceased ones to the Capitol. Another big investigation we published, this was a previous investigation before Hurricane Maria came, is about the coal ash in Puerto Rico and how it's contaminating communities. Not only in Puerto Rico, but also in the Dominican Republic, where at some point this coal ash was taken. Part of the impact of those stories was that the community organized. They did a lot of advocacy to end this problem. There was legislation that was passed to eliminate coal ash in that area. They did like, how you call, desobediencia civil, civic disobedience. They did a lot of education for years. This photo, I like it a lot because it's an example of one of the infographics of our stories that were used in classrooms and in protests to communicate the effects of coal ash in the health of the people. So that's basically the kind of journalism that we do. In probably the past 8 years, CPI has been working regionally, not only in Puerto Rico. This is an example of a story and investigation we did as part of ICIJ's Panama Papers. in which we work with Dominican journalist Alicia, and she, she did the investigation with Omaya Sosa Pascualo, one of our journalists and co-founder. They did the story together. Omaya mentored her into doing this huge investigation that required lots of documents and a lot of interviews. And finally, they showed how this government official that was in charge of the metro construction for a decade had been, taking public money, opening corporations that were not legal, and he was finally fired, and he's undergoing court processes right now. The kind of journalism that we do is important, survives because it's part of a network, a huge network of people who co-publish our investigations. These are just some of our local partners in Puerto Rico: Metro Newspaper, Revista Todas, 5 Millas, 80 Grados, Cyber News, which is like a news agency, Telemundo Puerto Rico, La Perla del Sur, which is a regional newspaper, A Boricua, which is a website, News is My Business, Radio Isla, Diario Libre in Dominican Republic, Periódico Claridad, Latino Rebels, and the Miami Herald. These are just some of the news outlets that weekly republish our stories or interview our journalists to talk about the findings of those investigations. I think, it's important that that the investigations that we do are mostly focused on systemic changes, problems that that have a deep root into the system, our government, and how people behave. So we try to focus on those big topics that have a policy impact on the lives of the people. In the spirit of collaboration of CPI, we have worked with all these media outlets and have shared bylines in many investigations. The New York Magazine, more recently Grist, Quartz, Le Nouveliste in Haiti, in these times, the BVI Beacon in the British Virgin Islands, the Philadelphia Inquirer, etc. Ojo Público in Peru, and USA Today, Washington Post, etc. We work on 3 interconnected levels. We have a transparency and litigation program that goes to court. We've been to court more than 40 times to ask for public records, and successfully. We have pro bono representation from the legal clinic at the Inter-American University. This is the only way we are able to do what we do, because if we would have to pay for these lawyers, we wouldn't exist. Some cases have taken years, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. But we've gotten to get the records. We've lost only 1 case of those 40 so far. We have a training institute. We train local journalists. We train journalism students from Puerto Rico, journalists working in every other media in Puerto Rico, like daily media, radio, print, and TV journalists. And we also train Caribbean journalists. We give them reporting grants so they can do their investigations with our mentorship, and we co-publish together. We give them editorial support, we give them legal support, data visualization, which is very important in our stories, videos and photos, and distribution to all the investigations that are awarded with reporting grants. And the reason we've been working for so long with Caribbean journalists is because we think that more journalism made by local journalists, Caribbean local journalists, is needed to tell the stories of our region instead of the international or US media coming to tell our stories. So that is a frame of mind that we try to use to work together with our fellow journalists from the Caribbean. This is the first Caribbean meeting that we did back in 2015, el primer encuentro caribeño de periodismo investigativo. We got more than 20 journalists from 18 different countries that time to Puerto Rico, and some reporting grants were awarded that year. Then in 2022, we made the second big event. It was virtual because it was in the middle of COVID. And then in 2023, and this year, we were able to do Caribe Fest, which brought them also to Puerto Rico. So we've been working with Caribbean journalists for all these years, and these have allowed us to do regional reporting that is very important. We'll see some examples in a bit. Tell me when I have 5 minutes, please. So the Caribbean, what do we mean by the Caribbean? You know, Caribbean basin, of course, is comprised by the continental Caribbean, you know, the continental part of the Caribbean that has the Mar Caribe, the Caribbean Sea, around. But we try to work mainly with small islands, because I think the Caribbean, the Latin America in general, and Central America, South America, have a tradition of working together and doing collaborative journalism. But that is not the case in the islands. It's very challenging to do work in the island because of the idiomatic differences, mainly, the political differences, the disconnections that there are between our islands, the lack of understanding and knowledge about each other. So that is where we feel there is a bigger issue to work with. We have a very complex and particular situations that are different from the continental Caribbean or from Latin America in general. Particular problems regarding energy, regarding water, regarding how to deal with residues and garbage, etc. How to manage our natural resources, how to deal with the exposure to disasters. You know, these are things that are very particular to us as islands, and those are the topics that we've been working with in our collaborative investigations. At the same time, we have also common problems such as drug trafficking, human trafficking, corruption. The Caribbean is basically comprised of 26 countries and territories, from Mexico to Guyana, very different geographies, a very different range of population also, and more than 5 languages, a common colonial history that brings us together, or should bring us together, and different colonizers. Some are still colonies, like Puerto Rico, which is a colony of the United States, or Aruba, thank you. And various political status and systems. Sometimes we just don't understand each other in terms of how government operates and how is that colonial relationship, because they are very different. So that is one of the things that has taken a lot of time for our Caribbean group to work with, just to understand each other and where everybody comes from. Some common problems and common crooks also. A glimpse of Caribbean journalists as told by our Caribbean fellows. Of course, we have a relatively recent history. There's no tradition of Caribbean journalism. It's not well documented. Few media and very few trained journalists in investigative skills. A big diversity of technological skills also. Lack of formal education in some of the islands, in many of the islands, as a matter of fact. Security risk. You know, when you are working in a small island where in some of them there's only one newspaper, doing investigative journalism gets very messy. In some cases, we have good country-level research or investigations in some cases. There's a very clear disconnect that is accentuated by language differences and lack of reliable data, databases, data management, and analysis of data. Also, this is a very quick summary. In Guatemala, politicians related to organized crime. In Peru, media market concentration. In Colombia, impunity and impunity levels related to the investigations for the killings of journalists. In Venezuela, the lack of trustworthy information, political polarization and harassment to reporters that make it hard to do quality independent journalism. In Mexico, media controlled by the government and threats from organized crime group and corrupt politicians. Not only threats, killings, many killings. In Panama, the control of the media by business or political and state power and the closing of news outlets. In Puerto Rico, the decline of media outlets and the lack of government transparency. In Dominican Republic, corruption in journalism in general and government advertising that results in the silencing of journalists. In Cuba, lack of preparation and training of journalists to live in a pluralistic media environment and the challenge of fairness in the context of US media reporting on the relations between Cuba and the United States. Does any of these sound familiar? In Trinidad and Tobago, public institutions behave as if they were private entities and have no obligation to provide information on how they spend public money or operate. Sources are scared to talk for fears of reprisals, and they don't seem to realize that they are complicit in the wrongdoing by staying silent. In the BBIs, lack of training and understanding of the press role and the right of freedom of expression. Often even information that should be public is withheld from the press simply because a public officer does not understand that it is public or fears political victimization if they provide documents or give an interview. Also, there is pool filing and record keeping. At times, information is simply unavailable because it has been lost or is not readily accessible. Do any Arubian journalists recognize these problems? All of the above.
It's not, it's ordered. It is literally, there's been mandates that they're not allowed to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
That the public officials have no right or no, they are under the obligation to keep quiet.
They are intimidated by. Mm-hmm. So we did like a Caribbean database, a matrix of these experiences from all of the journalists that we've been working with in the past years. And we listed the challenges, you know, the multi-language, the political diversity, the geographic limitations, the different legal frameworks, the lack of economic resources, the few and small media outlets in some cases. I think here is the opposite. Which battery is this? It's probably this one. No. It's a laptop. Okay, so let's see. No. Okay. I'll try to be quick. So lack of training, insularism and disconnect, shady governments that do awful things to journalists, censorship from government and sometimes mainstream media, as I mentioned in Puerto Rico, lawsuits, security concerns, burnouts, and being the subject of fake news. These last ones are like some more like personal consequences of doing investigative journalism, so they are clearly challenges. Opportunities. Multi-language is also an opportunity. Cultural openness in many cases in the Caribbean, you know. We're usually praised for being people who are very open and loving. We have common problems with local and international relevance, as I mentioned, energy and many others. Cross-border stories, we can do cross-border stories in very different, interesting ways. We have the technology. We just have to get to use it. We have new media outlets. You know, all these native digital outlets are an opportunity for us to do more journalism. We have new networks and training opportunities. We also see changing society as an opportunity. This is one of the probably the main reasons why we become journalists. So this is clearly, you know, going to the root of why we are journalists. I see it as an opportunity. We want to make powers accountable. That is a potential that is there. And changing, and when I say is there, it's because we've proved it. I showed you examples. This is not something that is happening in Europe or anywhere else. It's happening in the Caribbean. And changing narratives and public conversation and understanding of issues. When I talk about investigative journalism, what do I talk about? It is the task of revealing issues of interest that have been deliberately concealed by someone in a position of power or accidentally behind a chaotic mass of data and circumstances that hinder understanding. This is an activity that requires the use of public and secret sources or documents, secret or unknown sources or documents. This is the you know, the most shared definition of investigative journalism. Is in the Manual for Investigative Journalism from the UNESCO, and it was developed by ProPublica, which is one of the most important investigative journalism outlets. It needs investigative journalism to exist, needs a change of paradigm in terms of how we operate in daily reporting. We have to get out of being the lone wolf who goes for exclusive and scoops, who looks for individual success. You know, my byline is the best thing ever. We used to invest personal resources when we work as a lone wolf. We have local, but usually not big impact. It's really expensive, and we face pressure alone. When we work as a network, collaboratively, we share success. We use open source platforms. We have regional or global impact. We are more efficient because we distribute the cost of doing these stories, and the team is a shield against pressure, against bullying, against government harassment, etc. These are some of the most impactful collaborations we've done recently. This was a few months ago, in April. It was an investigation that involved 6 different journalists from 6 different countries and media outlets. It was a series, it had 9 stories. It was published by the BBI Beacon, for example, but it was also published by The Guardian, which has a huge audience, international audience. And these are the things that we are able to accomplish when we work as a collaborative. This is another example of a story in which we shared the byline with two journalists from the Greece, which is an outlet that is dedicated to environmental justice stories. It has a huge audience in the US and internationally. So this story, we worked in this story for 7 months, one of our journalists and two of them. It was a 3-piece series, and it's a very important investigation, especially for the community that is being affected by these pollutants in the south of Puerto Rico. Islas a la Deriva, another series that is basically about how there is a common problem of construction in the shorelines in many Caribbean countries, and what that is causing in terms of erosion and in terms of ending with mangroves, and what it means when we face disasters. This is another important collaboration. We did it with the Miami Herald, and it's about policemen in Puerto Rico that have been arrested for domestic violence, but are still working as policemen and have not faced any consequences. Paraíso Perdido was also a story. This was more about how the tourism industry has been causing erosions in the most beautiful beaches in Dominican Republic, in Cuba, and Puerto Rico. I could go on. I had some resources that I wanted to show you, but I'll go through them very quickly. Of course, CPI, the IRE. This is like the Disney World of investigative journalism. It has conferences twice during the year, and if you want to do investigative journalism, you should watch out their educational offering. Some of it is through webinars. Of course, ICIJ, which is like the most important investigative organization, and the GIJN, the Global Investigative Journalism Network, who also has lots of opportunities, grants, etc., for investigative journalists. As a final thought, I wanted to say that I think it is urgent that investigative journalists in the region, especially the islands and neo-colonies, start to work together on important stories that can go cross-border, so that the public is better informed about the amplitude and depth of the problems that affect them and can hold the powers accountable. Better informed citizens can take charge of their future and make informed decisions when they vote, and promote progress that leads to better living conditions and a more democratic society. It is also important that investigative journalists in the region work together as network so that they can support each other and work with new media or from these media that are threatened of disappearing, to go to places where it is impossible to be on notice or get another job. This is my contact information. You can write to me, follow CPI's work. Thank you for having me. We'll have Q&A. Do we have time?
When you spoke about the dump of information that you get sometimes, and that is very difficult to sift through the information and provide the gist of what is happening to the public. If you can relate that to, for instance, the Panama Papers, that encompasses the entire region and people within the region, and how did your organization, the ICIJ,
ICIJ?
make sure that, for instance, when it comes to people involved that relate to Aruba, that the people here, that the journalists here can get to that information?
ICIJ has a very particular process. They have journalists all over the world and receive leaks almost, continuously. When they receive a leak, what they do basically is like they have a team that scans those documents using AI, as a matter of fact, and try to identify some trends, patterns, the most named persons, the most named countries, the documents that are more problematic or that are part of a particular wrongdoing. So they do that analysis, and when they finish that, they invite journalists from different countries to pair with those investigative priorities. So that's how they do it. Puerto Rico, for example, got into Panama Papers because there were a lot of hits about Daddy Yankee and about some local lawyers and about different business people in Puerto Rico. But from all that, what we were able to do was one story, one investigation about Daddy Yankee, because that was the thread that we were able to prove and to validate those documents and to have people talk to us about it. So there's a whole universe of information that we were not able to work with. So that's basically in a summary, that's how it works.
If there are no more questions, I think I'm going to wrap up. Are there questions? No? All right. So
we all want to get to our second wine.
Well, that wraps up our first seminar, which we hope will be an annual seminar, and I hope you will join us again next year. And this seminar would not have been possible without the support of our sponsors, so I would really, really like to thank our sponsors for making this happen, and also you guys for showing up, because that makes me hopeful that we can make a better future for journalists. Thank you. And now we have a little snack and a drink, so you can mingle. But I think shorter than we expected, because we ran through our presentation. Thank you.